Welcome to an exclusive interview with the runner Washington. What a day to be a Gonzaga Bulldog yesterday. Joining me is the WCC Coach of the Year, Pat Tyson, first team All-WCC runners, Yacine Guermali and James Mwaura, and then second team All-WCC, Wil Smith. Guys, Pat, I'm going to start with you. Congratulations, first West Coast Conference Coach of the Year honor, first one for the Zags since 2004 when Kevin Swaim won it. How honored and how humble of the honor to, or I guess, to win this award?
Well, when I got the award, I immediately shook hands with Ed Eyestone, told him I voted for him. But, it's just your peers, you're talking about guys. I think a lot of coaches like the Gonzaga style. And this is not knocking Portland or BYU. It's just like we're kind of like the underdogs, the Cinderella, it's what all the other teams are hoping they can kind of build too. Santa Clara likes that role. So, I'm not much of a guy that, I don't like the front stage of things. I may sound like it when I talk, but I really like the backstage. And when you get honored as the Coach of the Year, it's really cool from your peers. But at the end of the day, it's, there might be there might be a team in there that's 9th or 10th place, and they may be the best coach, but they just don't have a lot of great talent. Right now our Zags are driven from within. And so this, Coach of the Year, maybe the Coach of the Year should be my captains, Yacine and Peter and Ben and Luke. They're the driving force. And of course the athletes buy in.
It's been 467 days since you guys last ran, and that was the West Regional meet. And we know how important that meet was, but this time around, this race was important. So what was the preparation over the last 15, 16 months for your guys getting after it down in North Las Vegas?
Yeah, I was not so sweet 15 months ago. I was sitting down in selection Saturday, I guess it was, in our locker room and hoping, and you never know, sliver of a chance, but it didn't work out. And then, hoping if nothing else, James Mwaura would have a partner. And Peter Hogan missed out by, I don't know, 1/10, 100th of a second or something. And, 2 down, baby, 2 down. And, really James Mwaura went through that same thing when he was a freshman. I mean, he was like next guy out. I mean, it seems like that's been the Zag story, right? So preparation is, our goal was to really, focus on indoor and get a bunch of guys to NC2A West track and field outdoors, and things were really, really lining up well until COVID. And, we didn't even see some of these guys because everybody was home for spring break. So we disbanded, and we didn't have Zoom going yet. I think we had just basically emails and text messages, and we created a season. We created a little track mock season, break the team into little groups, and have time trials from wherever you lived, and submit your times on a Saturday night. It was all right. I might do it a little differently. I probably wouldn't go every week and maybe go every other week, but it was something. The guys wanted something. There's nothing else. They got a test effort. Ironically, it seemed like a lot of guys were hurt. It was weird, like, wow, you're getting hurt and you're not even with the team and training with the team, and then summer comes around and we get in that what we normally would call our summer training mode. And I think what's so different this year was the leadership of the team taking on some really amazing things that I think it's cool to do, but I don't know if everybody can afford it. And that is, let's go find some places to train. Let's go down to Flagstaff. This was all driven from the team, not me. Let's go to Utah. Let's go to Boulder, Colorado. Let's go hang out in Camas, Washington, Portland Metro. Let's do some things in the Seattle area. So there was these pods, and I know that some of the guys that were there, like James and Yacine, they can speak to that, but this was all self-driven, and they were living their pro dream, I guess we might call it. And then, we come back and we're going to have a cross-country season in the fall. And things were so beautiful to start late August till the smoke hit, and then a little outbreak of some COVID, and especially in the Smet dorm, shut down. Thank you. And we were just kind of all over the place. But we had 4 time trials or so that showed amazingness. I mean, guys are running roughly 14 flat for 5,000. I mean, those were amazing times over there in Seattle indoors. But I kind of like 9 o'clock at Meade High School on a mid-September or late September, early October morning, and you're just your guys, no rabbits, just your boys hitting that 14 flat or hitting a 3,200 at 843, 844. And those times were without Mwaura, because Mwaura had his own plan, and but he would have had, maybe 820s, for gosh sakes. And it was just magical. So the guys held it all together very well. We thought we could get a cross-country meet in, but we didn't. And then, of course, you're gone for 8 weeks. So what do you do without a coach for 8 weeks? They potted up. They got in these little pods. James went up to Flagstaff. Wil Smith he potted up by himself in Spokane, and he lucked out the weather wasn't too bad. But what was going down in Portland area was amazing. It was just these guys, they made it. They're the ones that kept the energy, kept the excitement. Coach was just texting, maybe a Zoom meeting once a week. So what was our plan? Keep building, keep unity, keep family rolling, keep our leg turnover so we can run like we did yesterday. It's a long little story for you, Keenan, but the mentality was always there, and the build-up, the training was all more strength-based because we didn't have an indoor season. So we just kind of kept that XC base, which I think will help for outdoor track too.
Well, overall, you guys did a phenomenal job. You took down a Portland team ranked number 8 in the country, and it was led by these 3 individuals right here. James, I want to start with you. The effort you put into this race, and you were 4th place last year at WCCs, and you ran 23:40. You go on to break your own school record in the 8K, running 23:02. What was the mindset going in, especially knowing you're racing a guy like Connor Mentz, an All-American runner and last year's WCC champion?
Yeah, obviously I was a little nervous. I knew our top guys were gonna do their job, but for my part, I think going into the race, I knew I was fit and I knew I could hang with Keenan. It just depends how long I can hold on for, and see if I can maybe make a shot of maybe winning and stuff like that. But I knew I was pretty fit. Going into the race, I had a big time trial where a pretty good time where I ran 23 in the AK. So I knew I was pretty fit going into it. So obviously, yeah.
And just talk about the race a little bit. You and Mance are just battling back and forth. Of course, Yacine's up there, and along with another BYU guy. When you finally realized you broke a school record again, what was that feeling like crossing the finish line and potentially leading your team to a hopeful NCAA championship berth?
Yeah, I wasn't really focused on breaking any records. Records were not on my mind at the time. I was just out there racing. I knew if I hang on to Mance or trying to push the pace, I knew I would run a fast time. But I don't think any records were in my mind at the time.
Yacine, everyone was probably shocked to see you up there. I mean, what you've been through since 2019 spring with an injury to come back and finish 4th overall. I got to be honest to ask you, were you surprised by yourself with how you did?
I mean, we've been training well, so I guess there's nothing like racing. I mean, I think these guys can both attest to that. I mean, the race, the pain in the race is a lot different than training. But the good thing is, I've been doing a pretty good job of staying consistent. So I really didn't, I think I speak for the team in saying we didn't really rule anything out because we just simply didn't know that much information about, we haven't raced in 15 months. So it would be, kind of foolish of us to just kind of speculate where we were at. And I think, like James said, he would, there was a lot of points where he thought he could win, and I didn't want to rule that out either. So, I think our team's been doing a pretty good job overall of just keeping things, pretty simple as of late. And like Tyson mentioned, a lot of those time trials in the fall, we were just a lot of very low pressure situations. I think that kind of helped us a lot mentally to know, like, hey, you can function very well off of not being too routine, or being routine in a lot of ways, but at the same time, just not freaking out too much. And so to answer the question, wasn't really a surprise, but I mean, at the same time, I didn't rule anything out, but I'm happy with that result for the start of the season out.
Last year, you watched the NCAA West regional meet. You saw how close you guys got. That whole next 15 months of just training, the goal to get to the NCAAs next year. What was on your mind when you got into the start line before the race went off?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think that what happened to us in Colfax has driven us a lot in both positive and negative ways. I think, obviously we had the kind of narrative that, we were going to come back and get revenge. But at the same time, I think we took a lot of positives out of that, and seeing James get third and Peter getting 15th. So we knew we could run. We knew that Zag jerseys could run in the top pack, to keep it simple. And then I guess thoughts on this. So that I guess that kept us going for the past 15 months. But then thoughts on the start line, I think we all looked at each other in the huddle. We're like, hey, we have to execute. It's like, you can kind of make it a little too dramatic sometimes, and like, hey, like it's revenge. But at the end of the day, it's just running. You just have to run hard, and I think these guys did a good job of that. And just really, I think the theme and what we were saying, let's just stay engaged for as long as possible, because I feel like when you're in cross country at 8K, sometimes 10K, you can just fall asleep, and if you get caught doing that, then BYU and Portland are definitely going to run away from you.
Well, the guy that stepped up the most was you, Wil. Wil, you hadn't raced in a legit meet that meant so much since the 2019 4A state championship race against Jonas Price. Talk about your first collegiate racing experience and how nerve-wracking that was, knowing that there was a lot on the line for the Zags.
Yeah, I mean, I went into it really excited just to get out there and race. I honestly wasn't as nervous as I expected I would have been, just because the transition was really good, and I had a lot of trust in my teammates. Like, I knew James and Yacine were going to go out there and execute, and the rest of the team really brought it and did well. I thought before the race, normally I get pretty nervous thinking about like how I'm going to coach myself through and like push through the pain and everything. I just remember thinking when it gets to that point, I'll just think about the team. And I found myself in a spot where I was hurting a lot, and I just thought about, well, I need to get these Portland guys ahead of me if we're gonna move on as a team, if we're gonna do well. So going into, I just knew that if I thought about the team, it wasn't gonna be, I wasn't gonna have a bad result if I had that in my mind, and I had a lot of trust in my teammates that they would also execute. So definitely a little bit nervous going into it, but mostly excited to finally kind of represent the Zags and race with these guys.
And being third on the team, I mean, the Zags have produced great freshmen the last couple of years. Obviously, yourself, Riley Moore winning the freshman of the year last year, and then James winning it his freshman year. Just to be able to be up in the front pack, I mean, were you just like, wow, my training is finally paying off, and I'm showcasing what I'm so capable of against teams like BYU and Portland?
Yeah, I mean, I was proud of that, I guess. Training went really well, and I knew I could stick it in with these guys, but I owe a lot to my teammates. They really helped me out with training, and I've gotten like a ton of advice from guys like Yacine and Pete and other guys on the team, and they really, I owe a lot to them for being where I am today. But I knew I could definitely stick it in with those guys, and I was hoping on like cueing off my teammates and just trying to mix it up with them,
Coach, one final thing before I let you guys go. Like I said, it's unbelievable what you guys did yesterday, taking down a really good team in the Portland Pilots and then competing really well with a BYU Cougar team that won last year's national championship. What's your message to your team before Selection Committee Day makes their final decision for teams that will race in Stillwater, and hope that you guys will be in Stillwater on March 15th?
I think excuse me, the message of the team is to the team is, you know, we're going to race here next month. This, you know, we're going to race next month, and we're going to be ready to run. And it's like the West Coast Conference. It's just another day at the office. You don't make too big of a deal it's another race. Yeah, this will be Wil Smith's first 10K. He just finished his first 8K race, although he's had some time trials. And you notice it didn't bother him. It's just another day at the office. Mwaura, 15 months since he's had the jersey on, and it's another day at the office. Yacine never even ran at West Coast Conference or NC2A West last November and late October. Another day at the office. So that's going to be the message. We're not going to make a big deal out of it. We're going to go out and race, and we're going to get as many low points as we can, add it up, and do something that Gonzaga's never done in history, and set that as a precedent for the future too.
Well, when you see the all-time greatest high school coach in the state of Washington and 3 former state champions do what they did yesterday, there's no doubt in my mind that the selection committee would not pick the Zags to go down to Stillwater and race at their first ever in-state championships. Pat, Yacine, James, Wil, a privilege and honor to talk with you guys, and best of luck. And hopefully we can see the Zags racing in Stillwater next month.